Hey guys, it's Floral Friday and we're painting up some fun daisies and a little bit of flowers. I show you how to do this step by step. There's no traceable. It's just me painting the flowers loosely using some white gouache. It's in watercolor, of course. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Please don't forget to hit the bell notification button to know when my tutorial's up. Also, check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, and traceables to go on my YouTube. It's just a place people can go and support my channel. Here's the little link right there. Just check it out. Anyway, like I said, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to go with supplies. I have a 9x12 100% cotton cold pressed paper. It's the arch paper. I taped it down on a piece of cardboard with some Scotch Magic tape. I have paper towels. I have my 1-inch craft brush. I have this big old tin palette today. I have a bunch of colors mixed in here. I'm going to make like a bluish gray for the background. You could do a nice green color, maybe a pale green color would be pretty too. I'm going to play around with it. So I have Prussian blue here. And get this really loose watery. Maybe add a little Verdier blue with that. I could add a little of this cadmium yellow deep. This is a funky green color actually. I don't know if I was going to maybe do a green. I don't know. The green could be kind of pretty. But I really could maybe go back and do a little more blue. Play around with the colors that you want to use in the background. So it's more of a blue green. Grabbing some more of this Prussian blue. And it's going to be like very loosely painted on here. I'm putting more water in here. So I'm going to grab my brush. Now you can make it any color you want. I'm getting some water on here. Getting more loose. See, really good amount of water in here. It's really loose. And then I'm just going to start painting it on the pad. I mean the paper. See, that's a pretty, yeah, it's a pretty bluish green color. Do want it a bit darker. Add a little more blue. So we're doing wet on dry here, dry paper. We're not doing wet on wet. And I'm still just going in here. Kind of just, I'm not going to fill up the whole page. I'm just going to do like an area like this. Really loose. I might drop in some more darker tones. Not like the whole entire area. So you want some areas that could be darker and some that could be lighter. See how I'm doing this? Darker, lighter. I'm going to grab a little. I have some black gouache. I love to play with the black gouache. Make a little deeper in some areas. So it's a fair amount of variety going on here. So you make this dark bluish gray color. Just gives it a whole another look, right? When you start to paint in the daisies. And you get that yellow in there. Get some green tones at the same time. All right. Once you've figured out what kind of colors you want to put down, I'm just going to water this down a little bit more. We're going to let this dry. It's pretty damp. That's why I taped it down, so it's buckling a little bit. I'm removing some paint here. As you can see, how I do that is I lift it up with the brush and I tap it on the paper towel. You can do that. You can remove some of it. You don't have to do that, but I'm doing that. And if you want to go in with some yellow, just brighten up some areas. A little bit green. Adding a little more yellow to make it green in some areas. Okay, See how loose that is? I'm just going to let that sit, let it dry, and then we're going to come back and we're going to play around with the white gouache and create our daisies. Okay, so once that's dry, you can just grab your brushes. I have a sapphire Robert Simmons 1/2" oval brush here. I also got this small number 8 filbert Princeton Velvet Touch Series brush. This can make some nice small petals. This makes some bigger ones. So I just have some just generic white gouache. This is just some cheap, this is M-gram gouache I bought pretty cheaply. And gouache, you can make it opaque and translucent like watercolor, just adding the water. So see, I added some water to this, and you'll see how I can make it translucent and opaque at the same time. And we can just use our yellow watercolor. If you have yellow gouache, that's great. I'm going to show you how we can use just one gouache, and then you can create all these cool petals in these. So just going to take this 1/2" oval brush, and we're just going to swipe down some, see that? 1, 2 pretty petals. So it's translucent. It's creating that really cool kind of daisy. Get some big ones here. Just keep kind of going around. Okay, so you're just going to kind of go around. Now see, it's already drying very lightly. Just going to go back around. I'm just kind of bending my arm here. You don't want all the leaves to look straight on. You don't have to do that. Some can, and some can look on the side. Simple day. We'll do another one over here while that one's starting to dry. See, just making these simple petals. You see a daisy. So you see how these dried translucent? We can go back and grab some of that just on the tip of your brush, watercolor, and grab some and go like that, and you got the opaque, and it has this really cool effect to it. See, you can just grab the opaque and go down to that like that. Really loose. I'm playing around with the translucent and the opaque. It's kind of on its side. I don't want it to show everything. And then we'll do another one up here. Get the loose one down here so it's translucent. That's looking a little too opaque, so I'll add some more water. Right? And put another one like that size. We're going to do the small filbert brush to make tinier ones, little baby daisies. See, just go like that. Don't worry about the middle just yet. Go back in on this one. See, it's pretty faded when it's translucent. Then you can go back and add the more opaque gouache. Just do a couple. I'm going to do some crowded daisies in here. You can take at this point, the filbert brush and make some really tiny ones. Same technique. Little ones. I have some on the side, just bending. If it's really translucent, you have to go back in and grab some gouache. Do a few like on its side. You see it's really kind of fading out. You can go back in and grab the gouache. This one too, see? You can actually use the filbert on top of the other one that you missed. Kind of a dry brush technique. So it has this really cool kind of effect. with the translucent white on the bottom and the opaque white on the top. So I like doing it. It's a lot of fun to play around with this. See, it has this fading. You can go back in and add that opaque gouache for your daisies. This one's kind of faded. Go back in again. So it's a layering technique. You'll have to just keep playing around with adding more gouache, taking your time. I'm using the skinny small brush. I probably would use the bigger one on the bigger ones. You can go right in and grab the gouache without having to do the whole effect and make some pretty daisies also. Just like so. Small ones. This brush just lends itself to making a small petals. So I like it so much. This one's really faded. So I think this particular type of gouache is, because it's not as expensive, it's kind of, when you put a lot of water to it, it really fades. So I'm just going to put a teeny bit of water this time. You have to play around with the gouache that you get. But you get the idea, right? You can go back over some of the areas. Not all of it, just like, see how I'm just doing kind of the tips on the ends. Has this like really fading, mysterious kind of quality to it. I'll grab the bigger one. Just like that. I'm going to keep doing that until you feel satisfied, and, you know, put little ones, big ones, some petals out here. You want the whole thing to have that look. I have another one that's smaller than this, but I showed you a while ago. I'll kind of like put that one in the comments. These are just daisies. Bigger ones. See, I'm going back in and grabbing that opaque gouache. Just has a really cool effect to it. Do some more up here. You could do this kind of with roses too, if you wanted a background color and you wanted some white roses. All right, so now that we have them in there, what's the point with the yellow, the gouache? You can just take your gouache and mix it with the yellow to make it opaque. And just go in here. Maybe it's a little too bright. Turn it down. I'll grab some burnt umber, put that in there. So you can use it with your watercolor. See, just going to put in the yellow centers. Just like that. I'm going to start playing around with adding the leaves, and then we can go back in and add some more flowers. I might take like another brush with my Princeton 8 long round and grab some, I have some black wash actually, but some burnt umber, like a little brown here. Just kind of like throwing in some lines around the center. See that? Little squiggles. Just like that. Gives it a real loose. So I'm just wiggling my arm. Right? I would clean up my brush. I'm going to go back in with the gouache again. And really just kind of put some lines in here like this. Squiggle lines. As you notice, like I said before, it got really translucent and we want some of it opaque. So play around with adding some of those lines with the skinny brush. See how they're coming alive now with the white? These ones just really faded in the back. And you go back in with the brush. Either the one that I had before, the oval, or you go back in with this skinny brush like this one and add in, just kind of wiggling in, dry brushing in some of the petals. And you can do it kind of in the center, going outward. Just like this. See, you have the guide of where the petals were, and you can just kind of go over that. It really just starts to come alive. So this takes a little bit of time. I'm not going to go through all of this. And then you're going to just do that. And if you wanted to add some other colors in here or other flowers, it doesn't have to be just daisies. We could add some yellow flowers in here. See, I'm just going to go back in here. Play around with adding in more color, a more opaque white. And then I'm going to add some greens. So I love having white gouache in your repertoire. You need to have some white gouache. I always have white gouache. I have black gouache. You don't have to have all the colors. Those two colors alone helps just change up your designs a lot. So we want just a bunch of little ones kind of mixed in with the big ones. Just like that. Look cute, right? Just take your brush and wiggle down, make these little petals. So I put some more opaque ones in, mixed in with those translucent ones. It just gives it another look. So you put really bright opaque ones. It's like a field of daisies. And because we painted a lighter background, we can go back over it with some dark greens. So you just figure out how many daisies you want placed in, where you want them placed. Just really loosely painting these in here. Just like that. And you can grab their centers, put the centers in. And always with the centers, I'll add a little darker colors around it, like I showed you in the, over here. Could be blue. So I have a little bit of Prussian blue over here. Go and add some blue, little marks from the center. This little brown here. Just gives a little more depth. Just like that. So then we're going to go and grab, got the yellow here. I actually have some olive green right out of the tube. It's kind of dull looking, huh? So maybe we'll grab some pretty blue. I have a peacock blue here. I like to show you guys how to paint in real time. So I've got the peacock blue. And we got the yellow. Makes a prettier green, doesn't it? Much prettier green. We can add a little burnt umber just to tone it down a bit. Didn't like this olive green. It was not pretty. So the peacock. I love the peacock. Somebody asked me what else I can replace it with. I don't know. You can try like a cobalt. It's not the same. Here's a little Prussian blue to make it even darker. See that? And we can just start adding in some leaves. Basically, just going to put this stem down like this. And how I'm going to do this is move my hand like this. Up. And then wiggle. And there's the leaf. Down. Wiggle. See that? down and wiggle. Maybe get us a little bluer. You see how I did that? So I'm taking the brush, got another one here, stem, down, and just wiggle some lines down. This is how we create leaves. And they can come out of the side of the edge. Makes it more interesting. Again, have this one come down and bring this down. See, I'm just wiggling it. Then you start playing with adding leaves in the whole entire area. And then you can go back in and you can go and add, see, just put some leaves. After you put in the leaves, you'll see if you want to add more flowers or different color flowers. It's kind of how I go. None of this was pre-planned. I just add as I go. That's kind of how I like to work. So you can just add some more brown stems coming out here. Just add some leaves. Little skinny ones. We can add some more little teeny daisies from those little skinny ones, so we can go in here. Add some little branches. Here's a leaf that might go with this one. Darker color going towards the flower. See how it came down underneath? It just went right out of the page here. I call it a page, but right off the edge. And this is how you create really fun, loose daisy painting. You might want to add, like I said, some little stems out here, and you can add some little buds coming off them. Just change it up. So I would clean up my brush and maybe add some yellow kind of flowers. Just these little yellow flowers here. See how it just changes everything. Can add some of those over in here. Almost like buttercups, right? You could add little buttercups. Put some out over in here too. And we had a little stem up in here. Just adds a little more interest. And you go back in and you can put on your yellows. And play around with, you know, how you're going to do your picture. Like I said, going back and grab some more whites. This kind of died out. You go back in here and you flush out some more opaque gouache. I don't know if I would use the term flush, but just wash in some more opaque gouache. Just showing you guys different ways. And you can do this with different colors too, by the way. Like I said, grab magenta. Let's play around here. Add some gouache to magenta, and you got pink, right? But it's opaque now because you add the gouache. And you can throw in some little pink, bright blooms. Just wiggling the paint around, not doing anything special. Just, again, adding more elements. You want to add a little brown to that. Just to dull it a little bit. Or even some blue to make it purple. See, I'm just putting in some color. And it's just going to change your design even more. Put a little petals over here. Or you can just keep it all white, green. Some stems. Some leaves. I want you guys to play around with all of it. See, more leaves, maybe brighter colored leaves, bright green. So you have the yellow, it's pretty bright. Put some bright greens in here. Just kind of pushing around paint. I'm really not putting in a particular leaf. And you create this really pretty design. Go up here and add some leaves. See? Just cascading out, coming down. I want you guys to just play around, have fun. Don't get all caught up in if it's not looking right. See, gonna go add some more leaves in here. All right, so I'll go back in, like I said, with some of this color underneath. Now that you have the magenta, you can add that with the yellow, make a little orange. And you can add some of that underneath this daisy, just kind of tapping in on the bottom area, this color. Like so. And there you go. Just put a little bit right here on the edge and the bottom. I forgot a yellow here, I'll add it. Just a little bit to make that daisy pop, you know? A little yellow orange on the bottom area. Not the whole thing. So I'll probably put that down here and then I'll add the yellow on top. Sneaky than I am. And then you can go in and just add those little wiggly lines like I showed you before. Could be black, could be brown. Just find it around the leaves. Could be blue. I got all these colors up in here. See? Swiggle, swiggle. It's just another element to your drawing and your painting. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And that's that, guys. What do you think, huh? You can go back in, grab a little of this black. It's good to stand up. I'm actually standing up when I'm painting, and I'm going to go back in here, some of these petals, and I'll go in and add some this darker color, and go back over if I don't like it. With my brush, you can hear this clanking, I'm sorry. Grab some more of this white. We're just going to add a little more gouache. Whoops, that's a little too flat. You're just building those petals we talked about, so it stands out. It's going to go back in. It's going to dry light, and you're going to have to keep going back in and just kind of adding in until you feel satisfied that it looks the way you want it to look. See, it's kind of coming to life now, adding in much brighter white. It was really kind of fading out in some areas, and I want it not to fade. So I'll just go back in. And you just keep playing around. Got some yellow on the tips of my brush, so now it's got a little yellow tinge to it, which actually I kind of like. So this is just another thing you guys can play around with. You know, when you're trying to figure out what kind of flowers or what to paint. It'd be a great gift to give somebody for Mother's Day. You could just paint this whole thing and cut it up for, make bookmarks out of it or something. Fun, or cards. It's just some little white tips down here of daisies. Go back into this area. Anyway, you get what I'm talking about. So I'll remove the tape. Because now that it's flattened, you really just put the tape down for when the first color goes down, because it's going to buckle a little bit. So there you go. Some daisies, simple daisies, using some gouache and some watercolor. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Don't forget to hit the bell notification button to know my tutorials up. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I have exclusive tutorials there on Thursdays, ad-free videos, and traceables. This past Thursday, we did a really cool Parisian urban sketching with a pen and ink wash. So, yeah, just extra stuff. Sometimes they're longer than YouTube, obviously. Sometimes they're that was almost an hour video, and it comes with the traceable and a reference photo. So, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I hope you have a great weekend. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.